I'm back after 20 years. 20 years of planning, of promising myself that I would retire in Thailand. 20 years of explaining to family and friends why I wanted to retire in Thailand. I'm back. 6 days ago, I stepped off a plane and I was back. And immediately, the heat, the humidity, the noise, the music, the language, the traffic, I felt like I was returning from running an errand, like I'd been gone for an hour, which was exactly how I wanted to feel on returning to Thailand. So there are some things in the last week, the first few days, of course, just sleeping off jet lag, awake all night and asleep all day. And the last few days I've been acclimatizing myself, but I've been seeing a lot of friends, lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever. And I've been shouting at them over the music, unsa, 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 telling them what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Enduring the shock on their faces and the unbelieving looks. You did what? Your life was like, it's like, what? But in between those meetings, this trip was supposed to be tourism. I have never, since I was a kid, I have never seen the Grand Palace or Wat Phra Keo or the floating market. And this trip was supposed to be that. A lot of tourism stuff before I go to Phra tomorrow and get my little amulet blessed, which is the subject of a previous video. And I've noticed some things in the 4 days I've been up and about that you never see in El Paso, Texas. First of all, I watch Thai soap operas. Judge me if you must, but I like soap operas of any kind. The 7 basic human emotions are evident nowhere like they are in soap operas. And I tell people it's helping me with my Thai language skills. I don't know that in fact it is, but it's an opportunity to look at very attractive young people for an hour. And of course, they put very attractive people on the soap operas. And the thing about Thai soap operas is that to my eye, the boys always seem prettier than the girls. I don't know who's casting this thing, but they're definitely casting for a particular audience. And I'm just there for my language skills. Thank you very much. Another thing I noticed is that a Gatoy crossing Sukhumvit at Soi Si can stop traffic with a glance. Crossing against the light, she can just look over her shoulder and boom, the taxi screeched to a halt. I can't do that. Nobody stops for me. Doesn't matter what I do. If I cross against the light, nobody stops with me. I got to cross with the herd. I got to cross with 50 other people or they'll run me over. And the last thing that I noticed is you hear things, you get in conversations, you meet people that, of course, you would never meet working in an army hospital in El Paso, Texas. In this instance, I was sitting day before yesterday at a bar called Stumble In, which is on Soi Si there. And I like it because there's a lot of bars on Soi Si where you can sit overlooking the sidewalk and watch people go by. And I like doing that. So I was sitting there having a meal, and at the end of my meal, I wanted a cigarette, and I didn't have my lighter. So I asked this black man sitting next to me for a light. And we engaged in conversation, as you do. And he was from South Africa, an African from South Africa. And he was at the end of a 36-hour binge. His eyes were bleary. His speech was slurred. He smelled bad. And he had been awake for 36 hours, drinking steadily that whole time and doing God knows what else. And we were talking this and that. And I got up to leave and pay my bill and leave. And he said, can I tell you something? And I said, yeah, sure. He said, apartheid was a good thing. And I said, what? How so? Because this is something you don't hear in an army hospital in El Paso, Texas. A lot of people of color joined the U.S. Army. A lot of Africans. It's a pathway to citizenship. People from all over the world. There is no more diverse demographic than the United States Army. And I I would never have guessed to ever hear in my life a black man say apartheid was a good thing. And I said, how so? And he said, well, you see, when I was growing up, there were signs that said no blacks or dogs on the beach. And you knew where you stood. That was overt racism. And you knew exactly where you stood. You knew how they felt about you. When I visit America, you don't want blacks on your beach, but you don't put a sign up. But you still don't want us on your beaches. That's covert racism. It's dishonest, and I can't respect you for it. And I didn't engage beyond that, except to think this is why I've wanted for 20 years to come retire in Thailand, to get conversations like this, to experience stuff I would never, ever experience at home. So, yeah, instead of visiting temples and palaces this week, I've been having dinner and drinks and lunch with various guys, and I'd like to just give them a shout out. Let me read a list real quick, all right? I had coffee with Noah at the Chew Chocolate Bar. I had drinks with Robin at Red Lion. I had drinks with Roy at the Captain's Bar. Lunch with Mithrin at Fitzpatrick's. Dinner with Ami at Ban Rim Nam. And dinner with James at Fitzpatrick's. Lunch with Colin at the Emporium Food Court. He's there all day if you want to find him. Lunch with Greg at Ginlen, coffee with Pete at Artist Cafe, dinner with Bruce under the Chongnon Sea Skyway, and breakfast with Roy at a place called the Tavern on Soi Si. And no temples and no palaces. I haven't done anything this trip except get my laundry done, sleep off the jet lag, and visit with these guys. And it was nice to see these guys. And they're all successful. They're all happy. They're all healthy. They're all in retirement now. They're all wealthy compared to me. They're all in good spirits and very competent, confident men who have succeeded in life by making smart choices, the right decisions. And of course, there were guys here 20 years ago who I would look up if they were still alive, but they have died by misadventure or disease or accident or murder. There are other guys, I suppose, who are still here who I don't look up and who do not look me up because perhaps they are in diminished circumstances or whatever, and they just don't want to have that conversation. So the guys who accept a lunch invitation or dinner invitation are going to be the guys who are healthy and proud of their lives. But yeah, I've spent the last 4 days eating and drinking with a bunch of guys who I knew 20, 25 years ago and who have done really well for themselves. There's another old guy, and he sits outside this hotel. I'm at the Majestic Suites on Sukhumvit. He's about my age, I would guess. He's a Thai guy, and he's got white hair and glasses and lines in his face. He's got a pot belly and skinny legs, so I guess he looks a lot like me. And he sits outside this hotel on the sidewalk 15 hours a day selling t-shirts. He's got a piece of cardboard he sits on, that's his only furniture, and he puts t-shirts out on another bit of cardboard on the bricks there, and he sits there cross-legged for 15 hours a day and sells a couple $100 worth of t-shirts, I would reckon, when there's tourists. And he has no phone that I can see. He has no internet. He has no laptop. He sits there and just for 15 hours a day watches the world go by. And I thought, man, I could never do that. First of all, I can't sit cross-legged for any amount of time on any surface. But sitting cross-legged for 15 hours a day, day after day after day after day, I could never do it. I could just never, ever do that. But then I went and I had lunch and dinner and drinks with all these guys. And I came back to the hotel one night, and there was my guy still sitting out there selling his t-shirts. And I thought, ask any one of these guys that I'm visiting here, could you do what Steve's done for the last 9 years? Get up at 4 a.m, drive an hour and a half to a job that you hate, that's a crappy job that nobody respects. Drive an hour and a half to get home across a bland, featureless desert. Make dinner, eat dinner with your mom, do the dishes, then watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy until it's bedtime. And then tomorrow you rinse and repeat. You do that for 9 years. You do nothing else. I I haven't seen a movie in a theater in 9 years, well, longer. I don't see anybody else. Nobody other than my mother or I sets foot in that house. And that's been my life for the last 9 years. And all of these very competent, very intelligent, very confident, very skilled, hardworking men who I hope are my friends, who I consider my friends, not a one of them could do that. Not a one of them. I love these guys like brothers, but no. It takes a special kind of person to live in that kind of hell, in that kind of prison for years on end. And the years before the last 9 years weren't great. You know, that was the divorce years. I was housebound with social anxiety disorder, deep in debt. Yeah, none of these guys could have survived that for 20 years to come here for what I hope will be a year. I am convinced I will get a year in Thailand. What I will do, I don't know. Where I will go after this week, I don't know. I'm going to go to Pra. I'm going to get my little amulet blessed in Pra. After that, maybe Songkhla, maybe Phang, somewhere in the south to see a beach. After that, I haven't a clue. I don't know what's going to happen. But I will post a video every week and let you know what's happening. And I hope you will come along, because I am convinced I have a year. I made a promise to whatever gods exist in 2003 that I would stick it out for 20 years if at the end of it I got a year in Thailand. And I have done my share. I have done my part. Now it's up to the universe to give me a year in this kingdom. And at the end of that year, I don't know. I don't know what happens. I've had 2 heart attacks. I got 7 stents in my coronary arteries. I had my prostate removed, all my molars pulled. I'm a wreck. I know I look good, but I'm a wreck. And I think I got a year. And what I do with that year remains to be seen. So like and subscribe. Come along with me. And tell your friends. And next time you see me, I'll be broadcasting from Pra. And maybe I'll be certain how to pronounce it at that point. Thank you for listening. Khop khun makนะครับ